There were many changes in the politics of ancient Greece. One of the most significant was that, as a result of slavery and the accumulation of wealth, a new social class emerged with values very different from those of the old tribal leadership. These individuals were wealthy, but not always in the form of currency or liquid assets. This class came to be known as the oligarchy or plutocracy, rule by the few or by the wealthy. A political conflict arose between the traditional tribal aristocracy and these new elites who had become rich through the slave economy. At the same time, new political leaders appeared who aimed to represent the demos, the free common people who were neither slaves nor slave owners. These leaders were called demagogues. In ancient Greece, a demagogue simply meant someone who spoke for and represented the common people. Today, however, the term has a negative connotation and refers to politicians who use emotional manipulation to sway public opinion, regardless of truth. But originally, the term had no such implication. Another political figure that appeared in this period was the tyrant. Today, tyrant implies a brutal or oppressive ruler. In ancient Greece, however, a tyrant was someone, often from the aristocracy, who seized power and redistributed some privileges from the wealthy to the poor to maintain political stability. The aristocrats called them tyrants, though they were not necessarily cruel or unjust. These rulers did not represent the demos or the enslaved population, who had no political rights, but rather tried to create a balance between the elite and the free citizens. This period made visible the growing class contradictions in Greek society. Bertrand Russell writes about the city of Miletus, considered the starting point of philosophy. He explains that Miletus experienced intense class conflict. At one point, the common free people killed the women and children of the aristocracy. Later, when the aristocrats regained control, they captured the commoners, not just their leaders but many of them, and burned them alive in the city square. This reflects the severe class divisions within Greece. Greek society also granted very few rights to women. Men were viewed as superior because they could fight in war, which was seen as the highest virtue. This was also the period associated with pederasty, where the ideal of the hero was celebrated, a male warrior, athlete, or conqueror who embodied courage and physical strength. Women were seen as weak and incapable of fighting, and therefore considered inferior. When women had influence, it was usually because of their family background or relationship with a powerful man. Externally, Greece's greatest threat was the Persian Empire. The Greco-Persian Wars lasted from 499 BCE to 449 BCE. Persian rulers like Darius the Great, Xerxes I, and Xerxes II attempted to conquer Greece. Greece survived only because Athens and Sparta temporarily united against the Persians. The famous battle between Leonidas of Sparta and Xerxes, shown in the movie 300, is one example of this struggle. Together, Athens and Sparta managed to repel the invasions. However, soon after their victory, they turned against each other. From 431 BCE to 404 BCE, they fought the Peloponnesian War, in which Sparta eventually triumphed. Athens and Sparta had very different political systems. In Athens, the demos played a central role, especially in the city's powerful navy. This led to a political compromise between the slave-owning aristocracy and the free common people, giving rise to Athenian democracy. However, this democracy excluded women and slaves, who made up the majority of the population. Sparta, by contrast, was entirely controlled by an aristocratic military elite. The political structure gave no voice to common people. Therefore, the Peloponnesian War was not just a conflict between two city-states. It was also a class war, pitting aristocracy against democracy. People's loyalties were often divided between their city-state and their class. Afterward, the Greeks continued to defend themselves, but Alexander the Great later expanded Greek power dramatically. He conquered the entire Persian Empire, marched through Afghanistan, entered present-day Pakistan, and reached Multan, where he was wounded by an arrow. He later escaped and continued his journey to the sea. Eventually, he returned to Babylon, modern-day Iraq, where he died. This long period of internal conflict and external confrontation gave rise to a new way of thinking. Out of this emerged philosophy. Philosophy began when individuals broke away from religious explanations and started asking questions about nature and the universe. They tried to discover natural laws through observation and reasoning. Thinkers like Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes, all from Miletus, were among the first philosophers. They believed that everything in nature, trees, mountains, skies, clouds, earth, animals, and people, must be made of one fundamental substance, which takes on different forms. These early philosophers asked the most basic and profound questions. What is existence? Who are we? Where did we come from? What is the purpose of life? How does change happen? What is thought? What is matter? What is life? In the next episode, we will begin exploring the answers to these questions, and with that, the true beginning of philosophy.